Hello, my name's Amy and welcome to a Christmassy reading vlog. I haven't done a reading vlog since sometime in the summer, probably July, but there is just over a week to go until Christmas and I am very much in the mood to read at the moment. In fact, despite the fact that I've got loads of work to do, actually all I want to do is read. I can't quite do that at the moment because lots of work to do, like I said. But I did want to chat about what I'm reading and show you some of the cozy Christmas stuff I'm getting up to this week. So let's talk about the book I am reading at the moment. This is Elswens by Melanie Rawn. It's the second book in the Glassthorn series and it is about a magical theatre troupe. Now, I read the first book, which is called Touchstone, about this time last year, so it definitely seemed like something to read again in this festive season. It's one of those series that's kind of difficult to give a synopsis of. As I said, it is about a magical theatre troupe, and beyond that, there isn't a huge amount of plot, if I'm honest. We've got these four main characters who make up this theatre troupe, and it's about their trials and tribulations, really. Their personal lives and their journey to become one of the most famous theatre troupes in the country. That sounds kind of slow, and sometimes it is, but it's a very character-driven series. Because of that, and because I really do like these four main characters, there are moments when it's very sweet, very cozy, and perfect for this time of year. But there are also themes of seeing the future and also addiction, which are really big parts of this series. And there are quite a lot of moments where things don't go to plan, and because you are so invested in these characters, it really is a punch to the gut. So it's a series that is equal parts cozy and comforting and warm, but also quite heart-wrenching at times. I really do have a feeling that the end of this series, I think there's 4 books altogether, is probably going to break my heart. But the writing is gorgeous. I love the characters, and it's something a bit different from a lot of the more action-packed fantasy I read. So it's perfect for this time of year. So like I said, I'm about 20% of the way through that. I will keep you updated as this week goes on. And also, I've got lots of Christmassy things to do. I've got some baking, some present wrapping to get done, and we'll see how much reading I can sneak in between as well. I managed to fit a little bit of reading in this afternoon after my work, which was really nice. But now, as I said earlier, I have got loads of baking to do. We are hosting for Christmas this year, and I'm trying to fill up the freezer with as many biscuits, cakes, loaves of bread, just anything I can think of right now. I think I'm going to make some oat and raisin biscuits this afternoon. I made some for the first time last week and they were really much better than I expected, so I'm going to make some more of those. And actually, continuing the reading theme, I think I'm going to put on an audiobook as I work. I'm not a huge listener of audiobooks, especially fiction, and if I am listening to non-fiction, I like to have the time to focus on what I'm listening to, so that doesn't work too well when I'm working or baking. But I've decided recently that audiobooks could be really good for listening to books I've read before. In this case, I'm going with The Lord of the Rings. I don't even know how many times I've read it. Half a dozen maybe. So I know the story and I don't have to hear every single sentence to be able to tell you what's going on. So it seems like the perfect choice for an audiobook to just keep me company while I work. So that is what my afternoon looks like. So there's the batch of cookies I made. Not the prettiest biscuits, if I'm honest, but they do taste really good. And also There are 2 stray scones because the other thing I made is beef cobbler for tonight's tea. It's something like 5 or 6 days until Christmas. I've kind of lost track. I've reached the point where I don't actually know if I'm feeling more Christmassy or if I'm just really stressed. There is so much to do. But actually I've already got quite a lot of stuff done as well. A lot of the presents are already wrapped and they are all now here in the house, which is fantastic. The last one arrived this morning. I've also planned our Christmas Day menu, and I've got quite a lot of the baking taken care of, although not all of it by any means. But I've definitely been reading whenever I've had chance. Something really struck me about this series I'm reading the other day. It is really nice returning to characters that you're familiar with, and often the banter and the interaction between them in this series is really, really nice. It's quite cozy and comforting, and sometimes they're really sweet to one another. But at the same time, because they know each other so well, sometimes they are also really cruel. I think no one can ever get under your skin as well as friends and family can, and these 4 main characters in the Glassthorn series are so close that they almost are family. So the scenes in this book very much jump between being really sweet and cozy and warm, and then being really quite brutal, and they say horrible things to each other sometimes. And it's very much in character. It fits their character voices, it fits the history between them and the relationship that's built up over time, but it can be quite tough to read. There are times when you really just want to shake some of them and tell them to be nice to each other. But of course, there would be no plot and no story if they were just nice to each other. I am kind of pleased though that at about a third of the way through this current book, Elswens, something that I predicted from the middle of the first book is coming true. Essentially because some mentions of another country, or in fact a continent, came up in the first book, I was absolutely certain that these 4 main characters were going to be sent there, and they are being. Of course, I do feel like it's all going to go horribly wrong, particularly as these characters are a magical theatre troupe, as I've mentioned, and it's become pretty clear that magic is not popular on the continent they are going to. I mean, they're kind of almost going on a mission of peace, but even so, I can just feel that there's going to be a lot of tension ahead. I don't know if I noticed this in the first book, but the island where the main characters are from is very much the UK, and the continent they are going to is really continental Europe. I don't actually know if it's supposed to be a magical version of some era of Britain. I can't really pin it down to a specific time period. There are definitely things that make me think it's not Britain, but then occasionally things will come up that are very definitely taken from the UK. There is a range of mountains in the book, which has just been mentioned, called the Pennines. Now, as I have lived on both sides of the real Pennine Hills, I actually read it as Pennines to start with until I realised it was a fantasy version. So I don't know if this is deliberately a version of the UK or if it's just Melanie Rawn picking and choosing names from the UK and turning them into fantasy versions. As a writer, I can safely say we have all done that at one point or another. But I'm still enjoying the book. I think it was a great choice for this festive time of year. And I have still got a few more things to get done before Christmas arrives. I have now got just one more day until families start arriving for Christmas. The weather is doing its best to be as unfestive as possible this week. It's kind of looked like this all week. Misty, cold, wet. We are definitely not going to get any snow at Christmas. But I am nearly ready for family to get here. All the presents are wrapped. I have nearly finished the baking. The last thing I've been doing today are some Swedish saffron buns. I think they're called Lucia rolls. I really only make them once a year because saffron's kind of an expensive thing to just buy regularly. But they're a nice festive thing to make. They're a sort of enriched bread. And we're having quite a few Scandinavian recipes on our Christmas menu this year, so I thought they'd fit in really well. As for reading, honestly, I have not picked up Elsewens very much in the last 24 hours. I read maybe half a chapter last night. I'm still really enjoying the book, and I've been working really hard this week, so I'm hoping to spend the rest of the weekend really settling down to some more reading. In fact, I've kind of surprised myself at how much work I have got done this week, so I'm really pleased with that. This weekend is very much just last minute Christmas preparations and wrapping up a few things that I'm not going to get to touch until after Christmas. I am hoping to do a bit of writing over the Christmas period once family are here, but it's not going to be anything intensive. I have still been listening to The Lord of the Rings though. I've listened to maybe the first 2.5 chapters. I am really enjoying the audiobook. The narration is really nice. It's maybe a little bit old-fashioned because it was definitely recorded pre-digital audiobooks. Each chapter ends with "end of disc 1" or similar. I really like the voices that the narrator has gone for though. I think the narrator is called Rob Inglis, in case you're interested. I particularly like his voice for Gandalf, which is very slightly Welsh accented, and it really suits him. And I think it was recorded long before the films were made, but there are definitely snippets of the accents in the audiobook that are so similar to the films. But of course the narrator got there first. So that has been such a nice, cozy thing to listen to while I've been baking. I'm hoping to finish Elsewens maybe by Christmas. I definitely think I'll have a bit more reading time over the next few days. Before I wrap up the vlog though, I just wanted to mention what I'm going to be reading next. Something about this time of year has definitely put me in the mood for fantasy. I think I might have read less fantasy over the last couple of years than I ever have done before. But these long, dark nights and cold days are really making me reach for more fantasy. So I've picked a couple of books off my shelf that I'm really keen to get to. The first one is The Mortal Word by Genevieve Cogman. I think this is the 5th book in the series. Now, this actually came out about this time last year, and every other book in the series I've read really soon after release. I never quite got to The Mortal Word though, and in fact I think the next book just came out a couple of weeks ago, so I'm actually really behind for the first time since this series started. It's about librarian spies. It's got a bit of a steampunk Victoriana feel at times, but the main character Irene jumps between a lot of different worlds, so there's lots of variety. It's really fast paced, loads of fun. The writing hits the balance between being quite formal and also being really easy to read. So again, this is going to be a great one to read over Christmas. The other one I've picked out is The Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst. I honestly don't know a lot about this one, apart from I think it's an adult fantasy with elemental magic, and obviously queens. I don't think it's even been published in the UK. This was definitely a US import. I literally picked this one though because I liked the cover. I mean, it sounds like my kind of thing anyway, but I was really interested in it just because of the cover. So that's another one that I've had on my shelf for a year or two now, and I really want to get to this year. But the end of the year is coming up so fast. Trying not to think about that at the moment because I've got enough Christmassy stuff to be focusing on. And because of that, this is where I'm going to wrap up this vlog. I hope you've enjoyed this little foray through reading and baking. And to be honest, that has mostly been what the last week has been about for me. I'm getting ready for family to arrive and to spend some well-needed time just resting, relaxing, and of course, reading. Whether you've got big festive plans for the next couple of weeks, or you're working, or you're just staying at home, whatever you are up to, I hope you will also find lots of reading time. And that is going to wrap up all my videos for this year. So thank you for being here with me. I will have more writing videos and more book and reading vlogs next year, and I will see you in 2020. So until then, keep reading everyone, and I'll see you next time.